Coming to you alive through the power of the interwebs. Inside the Green Room studio from the flagship source of the Earth Mix Garden Products Network, it's the At Home Show with Josh Cary and David Bates, bringing you all the wisdom and wit you'll ever need to tackle your garden and your projects. Now broadcasting alive from Bates Nursery and Garden Center at 3810 Whites Creek Pike, just 1 mile north of exit 19 off Briley Parkway, or 0.9 miles as the Josh drives. Here's Josh Cary and David Bates.
Oh yeah, everybody knows what that music means. It's now time to climb a tree, don your loincloth, and survey the backyard, because you got to find a project, you got to lay it in the unmarked grave of history. Welcome in, everybody. It is your Saturday morning tradition. It's the At Home Show with Josh Cary and David Bates. I am Josh Cary.
And I am David Bates.
This is Moose.
Moose Michael Stevenson.
Moose, and he keeps us running and going. Got the audio-visual crew in the background, and we're ready to rock and roll. David, it's a little chilly out there.
It is a little chilly, and we're going to get right to the weather. And, of course, today is Saturday, and it's going to be a mostly sunny day. But we're starting out with frosty conditions this morning. And actually, here at the nursery, we got down to 31.5. So we actually had a freeze, but a very light freeze. But a widespread frost, which is right on schedule. October 15th is our average first frost date. And today, of course, is the 17th. So just a couple days off, right on cue. Patchy frost before 9 a.m. Going to be sunny, high near 68 degrees, light southwesterly winds. Picking up to 5 to 10 miles an hour later in the afternoon. Tonight it's going to be clear, lower of about 49 degrees. South-southeasterly winds about 5 miles an hour. On Sunday, mostly sunny, high near 71 degrees. South winds 5 to 10. Sunday night, 20% chance of showers after 2 a.m. But I will not be awake until after 3 a.m. Partly cloudy, with a low of about 58. That's not my plan. It's just the way it goes. And as we move on into the week ahead, it's mostly sunny conditions. A couple of chances of showers. There's early morning shower on Tuesday, sunshine Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Scattered thunderstorms, like maybe a quarter of an inch of rain on Friday. If a forecast that far out in the future really means anything. Currently, it's 34 degrees at Bates Nursery, and beautiful sunny skies. But we've got a little fog, so if it was a little colder, we could have freezing fog. And, that's a slick proposition.
That would be frost.
Well, no, it can actually freeze in the air and, and drop down and put like
Or be snow.
Be like driving through glass.
It's kind of like ground level snow. Yeah, it could be that.
Ground level snow.
Ground level snow. It could be, yeah. I've never heard it described as being that, but it could be.
But it's above ground.
It is indeed.
Until it hits the ground. Then it would be ground level.
Once it hits the ground, yes.
Would it be frozen at that point?
Probably currently no, because
it's higher than freezing.
The surfaces are all too warm. So we're just having
Kelvin rating.
This is a circular reference conversation that's not going anywhere.
Well, it's typical for the At Home Show.
Well,
David.
that's true.
I mean,
we do talk about landscaping. We talk about home improvement. We talk about whatever you want to talk about. You can pick up the phone and give us a call, and you can either leave a message or text us, 615-499-6690.
You can send a message via the Facebook page as well.
You can. And speaking of Facebook, we'd like you to, while you're on there, share it with your friends. And
Stop. Don't search. Don't scroll. Stay on the At Home Show.
So share it with your friends. We'd love to, had the whole village in today because we're talking about what we're talking about. Also, we're on YouTube. That is the At Home Show with Josh Cary and David Bates YouTube page, and you can subscribe there, and you'll get a little reminder that says, "Hey, the show's coming on."
You can watch it 24 hours a day if you want to.
Yes, and if you decide that this time slot doesn't quite work for you, I don't know why it wouldn't, but.
Maybe they want to watch it at 2 o'clock when it gets down to that low temperature that you're going to be asleep for.
Well, maybe that was the rain that could happen.
Rain.
Regardless.
I don't care.
Whenever you're up, you can get up and watch it if you like.
What's the weather going to be at 12 o'clock tomorrow? Tomorrow in the daytime.
It should be nice.
Should be nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
I hope so. We're going to be at a pumpkin patch.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
So am I.
At the one I'm going to.
No.
Well, y'all are not allowed to be in the same pumpkin patch at the same time.
I'm not going to a pumpkin patch. I'm going to a football game.
And who do the
Finally,
you're actually going to get to go now? You paid for the tickets last week, right?
I paid for the tickets weeks ago, months ago, months.
But you didn't get to go to the first one that you paid for.
No.
Okay, do you want to explain?
That one's next week. The first one was
You
next.
want-
The
you wanna
first one that was supposed to be is next week on Sunday, supposedly.
So, what is this game tomorrow?
Going tomorrow.
Yes, who are the Titans playing?
It doesn't matter.
Okay, but
But who are they playing?
Jaguars.
Jaguars. Okay,
believe.
well, now that's what
believe.
you call a trap game right there.
Yes, it is a trap
because the Jaguars are a division opponent,
Didn't
and
get to go Tuesday night, David Bates.
they are not considered to be a very good team.
No.
So that is what you call a trap game because they are professionals. They get paid just like the Titans get paid. And if the Titans show up thinking all we got to do is show up and this is a W,
They actually had to practice this week, so I don't know what is going to happen.
I don't know that you're. Let's slow your roll there, Josh. let's hold on.
Okay.
I like the Titans, but don't be thinking they just going to start rolling over people.
No, they ran over people Tuesday night that I didn't get to go. So,
oh, pshaw.
Pshaw.
Poor Josh. Poor little Joshy. He's had a tough go of it. You
Yeah.
know, he's not able to.
And Josh doesn't talk about the fact that the AFC South just kind of stinks anyway.
Okay. All right.
Hey, we've got a guest in the studio.
We do.
Yes, we
He's
do.
I hope he's a Titan fan.
A return guest, no less. The distinguished one himself, the good honorary doctor, Alan Lincoln. Alan, good morning. Welcome to the At Home
morning,
Show.
good morning. Thanks
You know,
for
this
having
is the
me.
first time you've got to be on the hot seat.
Yes.
And we actually cooled it down a little bit, or rather Tyler did, because the hot seat was a little too hot.
Too hot. Yeah.
You were beginning to melt.
Yeah.
The light was so bright on you there. We don't want that happening.
No, we don't want that to happen.
But it's the time of year when people should be rightly excited about planting things and getting out in the yard and doing all manner of things. So
Yeah, I mean, it's, when this time of the year, your thoughts go to lawn installation and trees and just all the things that come with the fall season. Like you just said, a good cool morning. This is kind of the kickoff to a good season of planting and getting out in the yard and seeing what you can do.
Well, and there's no shortage of things to be about doing. One of the things that comes to mind right off is that because we've had this frost, there's going to be a lot of people who didn't pull their annuals out that up until yesterday looked wonderful. And those who are perhaps a little more attuned with what's going on weather-wise would have done so yesterday at least, because they tend to turn into slime
Yes.
after they get the
Yes.
cold weather on them.
They're going to be very mucky to pull up at this stage.
So
that's for
they're
sure.
while they're easy to do, and for future reference, if you run into this situation, you can go, "Oh, I need to do that before we get that cold weather on there," and it makes it for a lot more pleasant job. Because, and why that's really important, if you're thinking about planting fall color items, pansies, panolas, violas, or cabbage, kale, all those kinds of things, this year, as everything has seemed to have been in regarding COVID-19, is things are in short supply.
Right.
Now we've got a good stock of all those items right now, but we have exhausted our suppliers,
Right.
and there may be a few little.
They're tired.
They apparently they got tired of planting because we've bought all they've got, and we've got a really good stock right now. But and I don't like to because it sounds just like everybody's. I'm just saying, plants are not manufactured; they're grown.
Right.
And there aren't any more out there. So if you have those things and you want them, I'm not saying that you need to have them or anything, but if you do want them, really strongly suggest you get out in the next few days to get that taken care of today if possible, because if you have specific wants, the palette of selection becomes more narrow.
Right, and a lot of people, they don't want to pull up their summer annuals now because they have been revived from the cooler weather, so they want to enjoy them more. But it's important to get the winter flowers in the ground so that they can get rooted in before really cold weather gets here. That will help them go through the winter a whole lot better.
Absolutely, and you're going to get a lot more color out of them because you're getting them in the ground, you're getting those roots established, and they're going to rebound a lot better after you've had like maybe a 20-degree night that maybe burns the blooms on them. That doesn't kill them, but it takes them a few days to bounce back. They're going to do so a lot quicker with a more fully developed root system that they can draw that nutrition from and continue the bloom cycle.
Right.
Now, does this go for containers and above ground as well? I mean,
yeah, they just get affected a lot more because they're above ground, and you effectively lose 2 hardiness zones by having something planted in a container or something that's above the ground. So if it appears from the plant's perspective that it is say it's 20 degrees air temperature from a ground perspective, it might seem like it's more like maybe 15 degrees from the plant's perspective being in a raised container. So
all righty. 615-499-6690. We're here for you, folks. And thank you. It does take a village to have the at-home show. I stand corrected, David Bates. The Titans play the Houston Texans
Now, I was going to call you out on that. Why do you beat me? He said he don't even know who the Titans are playing. He said that like he's a fan.
Here he is. He's the number one.
It does not matter.
He's the number one fan of all fans.
That's Sally Chan.
And that wasn't me calling him out. That was a listener texting us, telling him that he's wrong.
It's so confusing this year to find out what's going. Who's doing what and where they're doing it and what game's going to play. They move.
I can teach you how to Google.
You can.
I can teach you how to Google.
Josh, I gotta take you. Look at our at-home show page here.
Uh-huh.
Now, whatever effect you have put on me, it makes me look like I've got. I don't know, what is that?
My mom says you look like Bruce Dern
Bruce Dern
in that picture.
I was actually complimented quite a bit on that.
That looks
photograph.
like. Now I did get. I'll admit. I was in a fire once upon a time, where that I spent 8 days in Vanderbilt Burn Center. This has been.
I've got other photos.
28 years ago,
there,
but this looks like that I've had extensive scarring. It's just the way it looks to me. Now, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it doesn't look that way to others, but that's just the way.
You're too critical, David. You're too
It looks
critical.
like you forgot to duck.
And that's not the first time that's happened. Actually, I've got one of those on top of my head right now because
You walked under something?
I walked under a piece of equipment that's made of steel.
Uh-huh.
You know that most of that equipment is made of steel, and steel tends to be much more resilient than, say, the scalp.
Non-forgiving.
It's non-forgiving.
All righty, folks. 615-499-6690. You can get to us one way. We have Cary Parker has sent us a message, David, and it was sent this morning. And she has had 2 estimates for a new roof. One company recommends turbine vents, and the other recommends ridge vent. Which is really best? Help.
So what do you think? Where do you come down on that? I mean, let's first of all talk about why you want to have vents in there. It kind of seems like, well, doesn't that let all the
hot air out? Yes, and I mean, and it creates that vacuum and other things that are going on with it.
But the vents in reality are critical to the life of the roof.
Right. Now, again, Cary, and it's Tirri. Very cool. I like that.
Cary.
Spelling. The vents, the static vents, the roof, the ridge vent, or the turbine vents, or whirlybirds is the way we used to call them. If you don't have adequate under-eave ventilation or gable vents, you're kind of just allowing it to go. So it needs to be a cycle. So if you think about that picture of it pulling from the bottom out to the top. Whirlybirds are great when the wind's blowing. Okay, other than when the wind is not blowing and they're not spinning and they're pulling, because it's a natural thing. You know how it pulls when you're spinning, and it's like a fan on the backside. They're great, but other than that, they just function as a static vent. And if you'll go to the backside of a lot of houses in Middle Tennessee, you'll see it looks like a patch of mushrooms, because they're putting in a certain amount of them.
Right.
I chose ridge vent for my house. That's what.
And what was your thought process on that?
What happens to hot air, David?
Well, I hear this phenomenon
Comes
known
out of
as
your mouth.
There's also the phenomenon of convection.
He's pushing it. I mean, he's going to get a. He's going to get a.
Hey,
I'm going to Josh Norman him here in a minute. That's okay.
Well, but you haven't been doing near the number of curls that are the man.
No,
did.
no, no, no.
Tell me about them
What
16
he
out.
means
That's
is
16.
he's going to be tossed out of the way by me.
Oh, okay. All right. We're going to have a throwdown right here on the At Home Show this
Oh,
morning.
it's going to be an over the top
So
ladder match.
you choose the. You prefer the ridge vent. Is it an aesthetic thing, or are they more highly functional? Or
Well, it's a combination of the static and again,
convection.
There's a whole science to add to the ventilation in a home. So you getting a quick answer.
Yeah, convection happens regardless of which type you have.
Right.
And a lot of times people see the whirligig types spinning, thinking that the wind's blowing, and actually that's just the hot air.
Yeah,
making
and
a
a lot
turn.
of times, and it'll pull it out. But the biggest mistake that a lot of folks make, and we used to actually sell these in the old hardware store. They would cover their whirlybirds in the wintertime, and
I've seen that plastic bag.
plastic bag. It's absolutely the worst time that you could possibly do it.
And it makes such a fashion statement in the neighborhood.
Oh, it
where
looks
you can-
nice.
Okay, now Terry, in all seriousness, since you've already gotten 2 estimates, get a third, and then you'll come down with the consensus.
Got to
on-
have a trifecta.
Yeah, well, we always recommend three of them going. But if you don't have adequate under-eave vents or gable vents, or is it going to allow that flow of the air to come through, I would err on the side of caution. I would probably use the ridge vent.
Air.
That's
ERR. Sorry.
Yes, but the ridge vent itself, when they put the capping material over the top of it, you can barely see them anymore. It's not like the old, again, they do still do it, but you remember the old metal vent that used to sit on the top of the house?
Yes, I do remember those. A little square, looks like a little bread box or something.
Well, it was the vent that went from side to side.
Now, were those powered by a fan, or did they just?
They had power vents too, and they carry a 2-year warranty. And we used to sell motors about 28 months later. So I mean,
And do those run continuously? Or are they on a thermostatic control where they?
Yes,
Okay.
some of both, but
All right.
more often than not, it hits to a certain temperature and gets them going. You don't see them used very much anymore. So I don't anyway.
So a ridge vent really is clearly the
With the proper under eave or in gable
and that's
ventilation.
the key. It won't, for anything to be able for convection to take place, it has to be able to draw air in from somewhere.
And to
if
be
you
able
don't
to get
have
it out. But
if you don't have the ridge vents in there, there's no way for the air to come in. Therefore, the air
That's what I
cannot
said.
go out.
That's
I
what
know
I
that's
said.
what you said. I'm just
Okay.
reiterating.
But hot air rises, by the way. So I mean,
I've heard that.
it does
I've
go
heard
up,
that.
and it's going to go sideways here in a minute. All right, 615-499-6690.
I do have a question from my mom for you guys. She's bringing in her
mom.
plants for the winter. She's got a lemon tree outside, stuff like that. Now she's bought a I guess a sun lamp or a bulb that does that, and she wanted to know the best way to utilize that to help out with these plants inside.
Turn it on.
Well, obviously, but I mean, is there a particular distance away? Is there anything like that?
Well,
Grow lights.
Yeah,
Grow light, yeah, that's what she called it. Grow
lights
light.
are very beneficial, and the back in the 70s during the prior high phase of tropicals.
High
you know,
phase?
Yeah, I mean they were. I mean, yes, there was a lot of interest back in the 70s in tropicals, and we have seen very much a renewed interest. The biggest difference is that the bulbs that you had to choose from back then were either an incandescent type of bulb, an old style of screw-in type light bulb that just has a filament in there, or a fluorescent fixture. And both are fairly power hungry types of light bulbs. So the advent of LED bulbs has really helped tremendously in order to be able to give a choice of lights that will provide the sufficient spectrum that you want to have for the plants, but do so at a very reasonable cost. So, where that you might, you would have loved to have had maybe 250 watts of light to be able to shine on a plant for,
That's why
during
you put
the day.
the aluminum foil in the closet.
That's for those for more protected crops, I think, Josh.
Yeah.
But those, and they rarely make a good statement out in the living area with have aluminum foil on the floor shining up. The plants really want to take the light from above. So, but by using an LED bulb or bulbs around the house, you're able to really put the light where you want it and do so really economically. And you combine that with the timer where you can have the light coming on during the day length hour and going off at night, so you don't have lights that are apparently on at night when you don't want them on. So unless that's just the way you want it, the plants don't really care. They just need to have their day length. And if you have a window that say maybe gets 2 hours of light a day, but you want it to get 4, you could have the timer set to come on and extend the day for a couple of hours. Come on as the sun starts to go away, and have it come on for 2 extra hours.
So you can get the flower buds.
I was going to use a poinsettia reference.
Oh, okay.
And there'll be a lot of people with poinsettias after the fact. Or maybe they've got them now that were left over from last year, and they're trying to get them in to get the bracts to come out. Of course, what you see on poinsettias are
those are leaves.
Those are actual modified leaves or bracts. The flowers are the little bitty white things that are down in the middle. They're you may never have even paid attention to them. They're so non-showy. So, but when you're bringing plants in, there's a lot of things you need to think about. You need to also think about what you might be bringing in with them. And we'll take just a moment here, and we'll talk briefly about some things you need to be mindful of when you're bringing those plants inside. And of course, your
Bugs.
Oh, I went to your page, Josh. I'm glad I didn't. I'm glad you weren't looking at something that was unauthorized. Are you the one? Are you? I don't. Let's talk about Earth Mix garden products for just a moment. And if you're bringing in plants from inside, from outside to inside, it may be that they've gotten way overgrown. Maybe you bought them and you never transplanted them. You kept them watered all summer and they're really root bound. You may need to step those up to put them in a container. Now, watering is really important. That's another issue. But one thing it is you got to have proper nutrition for your plants to do it. We just talked about light. But the other component of that is what kind of soil mix that you're growing in. And if you're going to do well with plants, you got to have good soil. And we really think highly of Earth Mix garden products. And they're all sustainably, organically produced right here in Nashville. And we think that there's no product you get that's going to really help you to have a better chance of the plants really thriving. There's enough nutrition in there generally when you first transplant them to last at least 6 weeks. So no additional organic fertilizer would be needed during that time period. And more than that, Proganics I does not use peat. It uses coconut coir and or
No
quail.
palm? No Ringo either?
No,
Okay.
it doesn't. No, it just uses coconut coir, which is
stuff.
ground up coconut husk.
Cool.
Anyway, and because those are very much a renewable, there's a lot of coconut around the world. We choose to use that. You don't get those fungus gnats that are always a nuisance indoors, especially in greenhouse areas. But if you've got them inside, you don't want that. So by using that, you'll help prevent that issue, and you'll assure yourself of being able to keep those plants looking good. Now, if you're planting outdoor plants, and Alan, we get to talk to people a lot about this regarding how to prepare your soil when you're getting ready to plant. Earth Mix Landscape is a great choice for that because it gives people everything you need. All you've got to do is just mix it in with the soil you dig out of the hole.
Right. And one of the questions everybody asked, or a lot of people ask, is, do I need to do that? Do I need to put additives in the soil? And of course, without knowing exactly what the soil is, it's kind of hard to say. But as a general rule, if you're spending $300 or $400 on plants, the extra additive that you get by putting quality amendments in there just helps everything get off to a good start. And it's a small thing you can do, but it means a whole lot in the productivity of the plant.
So it doesn't matter what kind of product you're using from the Earth Mix family, whether it's Earth Mix Landscape or Earth Mix Garden, which is the most widely available product. Make sure you go out and find Earth Mix, and you can go to earthmix.net, click on the Find Earth Mix tab, and you'll see a complete list of locations all over Middle Tennessee, Kentucky, Ohio, Indiana, and great places here locally in Nashville, such as Gardens of Babylon, right in downtown Nashville, JVI Secret Gardens out in Donaldson area, Bates Nursery and Garden Center, of course, right here. So remember this, success in gardening begins at the ground level when you use Earth Mix garden products. And thank you for taking a moment and patiently listening to us talk about that. If you want to have success, that's where it all begins. The other big question, Michael, about tropicals and bringing those in the house is what else you're bringing in with them when you are bringing those tropicals in. I got a fly right here. I want to smack him.
Don't hit him.
I'm not going to do it because it's going to make everything jump. Is that you're bringing in a lot of other unwanted things, and but probably not house flies, but there may be other things
Like
such
fruit
as,
flies, maybe?
well,
Spider mites usually.
it could be spider mites, it could be scale, it could be all manner of things. So there are some things
Snakes.
that people, if you have plants already in the house and you don't have pest problems on those, you need to take some special measures to spray these plants. Either take them all in and put them in the tub and spray them in the shower, and use something like insecticidal soap, which is a good choice because it's not. It smells pretty nice.
It really does.
And it's not, and it's an organic type of insecticide.
Neem oil too.
Neem oil is another good choice for that. So, or if they're just really badly infested, don't bring them in.
Yep. Right.
Darren from Donaldson, that's who called you out, by the way,
That's okay.
about the Titans play in
Ho, ho,
Houston.
ho.
He also wanted he asked what Earth Mix products should be used in pots for indoor plants.
Well, the Proganics Eye we were just speaking of is the one that you want to use, Darren, and it is it has not just coconut core in it, but it also has pine fines in there. It has expanded shale in there that, and unlike other products, it also has perlite and vermiculite in there. So there are things that help assure that you're going to get enough nutrient value to the soil, but also it has enough porosity to be able to drain out. That's one of the big problems, Alan, that I think a lot of people struggle with indoor plants, is they tend to overwater indoor plants and they tend to underwater outdoor plants.
Exactly, and I think a lot of people's mindset is, I purchased this plant. I don't want it to dry out. I don't want it to dry out. Well, sometimes drying out a little bit is not necessarily a bad thing, because if the root system sits in water for long periods of time, you're going to get root rot or other soil-borne type issues. So not watering occasionally, can be beneficial, but you just have to, and people ask all the time, how do you know when to water? And for us, it seems like it's an easy question, but actually the best way to do it is just take your finger and stick down in the soil, and if it's dry,
It'll feel dry.
Yeah, if it's dry a couple of inches into the mix, then you need to water. You need to put some water in there.
Now the other thing is what people's conception of what constitutes watering, and when you water something, it doesn't matter whether it's indoors or outdoors. You really want to try to soak it thoroughly. You want the entire root ball and all that soil to get wet. Then it will actually go quite a long time between waterings. And, roots grow in search of moisture and nutrition, but mostly moisture. And if you keep it wet all the time, the roots are going to sit there and they're going to start to rot.
Right. That's one of the things with a irrigation system that people put in on the outside, an in-ground irrigation system. Number one, they spend a lot of money, so they like to watch it run.
I need to see some water fly.
Yeah, I need to see some water. But that constant watering every 48 hours, the plant root system will not go down in the ground seeking out water. The water is right at the top, so the roots will just stay at the top. And then that makes the plant vulnerable to weather changes and so forth like that. So it's good to water, but it's a proper way to water, and watering thoroughly is definitely what you need to do.
Now, I want to go back to
Your picture.
my picture. I mean, does that not look like that I've been through some
It looks like he.
significant trauma?
It looks
I
like he
mean,
crinkled up your face.
Yeah.
Like he.
I don't know why, but Josh always, and I know he's going to say it's because he just naturally looks better, but for whatever reason, I think he uses
It's
different.
good genes, David. That's all I can tell you, man.
No, what it looks like is you made a collage. And what you did is you spent more time tweaking the filter for your picture, and you just threw one on David.
That's pretty much.
I have,
and that's the way.
have
That's the
other
way it's been-
photos. I mean, you know.
I know, but this is the one you chose.
Uh huh.
I know you have other photos.
I
so-
think you look great.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Glenn Novitsky's sent us a question as well, David. Hope you can help. I have a 50-gallon water heater installed in 2013. It does have sediment in it as I hear it gurgling when it's heating. If we fill up the inside jacuzzi tub, which is at the other end of the line, farthest from the tank, it has a rust-colored sediment on the bottom of the tub. Is it safe to do a flush of the tank, or would it that just amount to flushing it open to leaks and replacement?
It certainly won't hurt anything. Now, what you should do if you're going to flush it, your first thing you want to do is turn the power off
Right.
to the water heater. You don't want to leave the power on. And the danger there is that if during this flush process that it doesn't stay full of water, or at least above the top element, if that power's on while
It's a gas water heater, David.
oh, it's a gas water.
water
Sorry.
heater,
All right.
yeah.
Well, turn the gas off then.
Yes.
Less critical on the gas water heater. This is a tank type, so you essentially have a big burner at the bottom of the
Right.
tank, and that's what it is. So it's less critical on that one.
Now, the other thing to think of is make sure
But you're
that
heating
you have-
water that you're going to dump out.
You're not heating hot water, though.
No, you're
don't
just
heat hot
heating water.
Okay, but
If it was hot, you wouldn't need
you
to
don't
heat
need
it.
to heat it. So, and again, now
So that's why few people actually have. I guess in Iceland, they may have hot water heaters, but
they don't need them. They've got volcanoes.
That's right, but the water's already hot, so it just makes them feel like they,
Okay, but yeah, go ahead and drain it if you can. Make sure you've got an adequate wet place to get it out of the way, because we don't know where in the house the water
Connecting
heater
a garden hose to it is a good idea. That has a little
hose pipe.
It has a little hose receptacle on the end, and then you screw that open, have it to a drain area outside.
Now that this rust-colored sediment on the other end of the line, we don't. That's probably part of some of that sediment, but I don't know.
No, that's definitely part
Rusty,
of it.
but-
It's not going to hurt to flush that
No.
out. Now, what happens is when you have an undue amount of sediment buildup in a tank, it does a couple of things. Is that first and foremost, it really reduces the capacity and the performance of your
and the
heater.
efficiency of the
Very
burning
much
the
so. It
gas.
takes it a lot longer to heat, and so if you can flush some of that out, it's great. How much success you're going to have doing it remains to be seen. It certainly won't hurt anything.
Nope.
To connect a hose to it, open that up, and let it drain out, and leave your, if you want to cut the gas off so that the heating element doesn't come on, that'll be fine. Turn it on and let it run until it begins to look somewhat clear.
And then run cold. I might even run cold water through that
Well,
pipe as you're going.
no, you're
along.
going to be running cold water in as you're.
I know you're running. I'm talking about the other end of the line. Just let it run and run and run, and it'll clear itself out.
It'll clear out pretty well, and then you'll have. I don't know if it may be the confusion between activity and production. I'm not sure how productive it'll actually be, because you're only draining out of one edge of the tank. So if it is a fairly new tank, you're not going to have a whole lot of sediment
We're
in there.
7 years old, according to.
Yeah, you're going to have quite a bit in there. Matter of fact, if you, at some point, the unit will fail, and then you'll get a new one, and then you'll go, wow, the water gets
so
hot.
nice and hot.
It gets hot so fast. So you wind up wasting a lot of energy. I would suggest if you've got a way to do it when you go to a changing your water heater out, is to go to one of those water heaters that actually heats in real time, and it's on demand, so that when you turn the water on, ignites and heats the water at that moment. And then when you turn the water off, it shuts off. So you're not constantly heating this tank of water. It's a lot more efficient. They do cost more money on the front end, but they have come down quite a lot in price. And
Or you could move to Iceland.
You could do that.
Yeah.
Or Yellowstone Park, maybe.
Yeah.
Yellowstone would be a little bit closer.
It would be. But, I hear Iceland's nice this time of year. We're coming up on the Northern Lights season there. So,
David, could you go to HDMI too?
I could.
Because we also
You
had
want to go to 2 or to 3?
I'll go to 2. I don't know. You told me you were okay. Go to 3. Nothing on 3.
You're on 3. There you are.
Okay. You told me I was on 2.
Well, I was mistaken.
Now, you recognize this young gentleman. That is the one, the only, the Red
Melch.
Stallion, Jonathan Melcher. He had a question from his mom.
Oh.
He sent me
A
a
lot
message.
of moms have questions.
I don't know whether, but he wanted to know what kind of maple tree is in the wild that we're seeing now that has, as it's turning color, it goes from pink to orange, mostly pink. And now he
lives in Metropolis,
Metropolis,
Illinois.
Oh, okay.
Is that why he's wearing the Superman outfit?
Exactly. He,
that's
he
the
is
Red
Clark Kent.
Stallion. Okay, don't.
He married the pink pony.
Right, and their 2 kids are Spud and Sprout. So
It's true.
it's true.
I'm glad you could verify that.
So you want to speculate on
old
what
photo.
kind of maple he may be talking about up there?
I mean, amber maple is something that I thought maybe could be what they were talking about, but I'm not sure up there.
Well, I don't know. It's not a
Doc,
hardiness
did you say
issue.
did you say hammer?
Hammer.
Amur.
Hammer.
Hammer.
Yeah.
Amur.
Amour.
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 Yeah.
But everybody around here calls it Amur.
Hammer.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you go to McMinnville
It's
and you ask for it, Amur,
Yeah.
maple, they're going to look at you like, only the...
They're gonna say we're closed. Yeah, I mean, I'm not real sure what else it could be. It could be just an Acer rubor that's affected by that climate up there that
Could be.
does differently, than it would down here.
But more pink again, the pink shade, and again, that sounds really pretty. And as far as the fall foliage, he went further. He wants to know they're going to build a house at some point in time. He wants to know about cherry trees. Now, do they need a pollinator?
Well, not if it's ornamental.
No, he wants fruit. He wants.
Oh,
Okay.
He didn't say you wanted fruit.
Yeah.
It's always a good idea with fruiting trees if you can have more than one variety. And the cherry trees that are most notably used as a pollinator are the black Tartarian.
Yes.
Now, so if you have ideally one black Tartarian and one of any other type, maybe Montmorency or Bing, North Star. There's a whole lot of different types of cherry trees.
Do they do well in Middle Tennessee?
The birds love them.
Oh, okay.
The birds, the birds also love my figs,
Yeah.
and so netting is one of those things that I have to continually keep pulling up because
that fly was on the wall, David.
it is
keep
a-
peripheral vision. He
Oh,
was
to be
right
a-
there. You
to
could
be
have
a-
got him there real quick.
to be a fly on the wall. I'm not going to do it. This is my hand that I injured. I'm not going to slap it.
And re-injure it. Yeah.
and then
615-499-6690.
Not gonna do it.
Okay, but now my figs are not. I've got plenty of fruit on my brown turkey, but they don't seem to be ripening. Am I?
Well,
It's just a little.
It's just a matter of timing, and if they produced late, say they went into flower late, and your fruit set was late. What happens is that you don't get far enough along for them to ripen, or at least you don't get as many. I mean, I picked 15 the other day because my fig tree is big. I mean, it's 8 feet tall, 8 feet wide, and probably had, I would estimate, 300 to 400 figs on it. And I would get, for a long time, I would get maybe one or two almost every day. But then it gets to the point where there's a bunch of them, and then I've got this blue jay that I could just wring his neck. If I could catch him, he would be going through the witness relocation program. I would be bringing him out here, into a more widespread, get him out of the city and into the country, which is where he really wants to be.
Really?
obviously a bird that will.
He's got a great food source
desperately
over there.
wants to be.
Oh, he just wears my figs out. And I have to give him one thing. If they're nice and ripe, he'll eat the entire thing. He won't just make holes in all of them. He'll eat that whole one while he's there. But he's got to be, and you'll know him, he's the fattest blue jay out there.
I was going to say, can he even fly at this point?
I don't know. I think he just kind of crawls up under the netting and climbs the tree, that kind of thing.
Oh, my goodness.
615-499-6690. You can call us, leave a message. You can text us. You can go over to our Facebook page, The At Home Show with Josh Cary and David Bates. And you can see what we got going on there. And or just stay tuned.
I heard you had a big week award wise.
Well, we were very fortunate, and while we're on that subject, we'll just go ahead and kind of cover that. And
Can we play something first?
Certainly.
Yeah, just go ahead and play.
yeah,
Well, that didn't work, but we'll do this one. This one will
You're
work.
talking to the Rolex wearing, diamond ring wearing, kiss stealing, wheeling dealing, limousine riding, jet flying, son of a gun, and I'm having a hard time holding these alligators down. Woo!
Now, that's Ric Flair, the nature boy.
yeah. I didn't even know who it was, and I knew who it was.
Okay. 16 times world heavyweight champion.
Well,
Now-
we were fortunate enough
To exceed that
by one.
by one.
Yes, and
so far.
we're very appreciative for everyone, and that's our Bates Rewards members. And
Yes.
Thank you very much for voting us Best of Nashville for the 17th time. That's 12 in a row, and we're really, we don't take that for granted. We really it just means a lot to us that people will take the time to vote for us and come out and patronize us here at Bates Nursery and Garden Center. This is huge, a Writer's Choice Award. They only
Yes.
give out
This is
a
one in
select
a row.
number of
Yes.
those that our very own Honora McGarry. Honora, marketing superstar. She
Yes.
is. She and the Bates Nursery Botanical Boot Camp series that she has,
BBC.
the series she has put together got a Writer's Choice Award.
That
So
is huge.
we're thrilled for Honora. She is extremely deserving of that, and we're appreciative of all the love that has been shown to us, and we thank you for being our. Well, it's a really friendly business relationship we get to have. And Alan, when we come out and we get the folks are kind enough to come out here and do business with us and bring us pictures and look at their unique situation and try to figure out how to resolve that. It gives us the opportunity to really develop a close relationship with the folks that choose to do business with us. We're appreciative of that.
Yes, and as you well know, once upon a time, you could come out here and spend X amount of dollars and fix up your place and everything, and it wouldn't be that big of a deal. But things now have gotten more expensive.
Everything has gotten more expensive, and plants are not the exception.
Right, and the money that you invest and put into it, you need to be sure about the selection of plant that you have and the area that you put the plant in. And I tell people this all the time. I mean, yes, we're in the business of selling plants. That's what we do, and we try to sell plants. But I think most of the sales staff here, they don't just necessarily focus on the sale of the plant. They try to make sure that people are selecting the proper plant for the proper location so that it will be successful.
And it's
that
not, and
grow.
it's very wise to do that, because if you take care of your customers, they will continue to come back to see you.
Well,
So-
to kind of roll it back, 45 years ago, when my dad and us boys built this garden center back in 1975, we had maybe a dozen different kinds of shrubs. We had a whole lot of them.
Yeah.
We had 1
You
gallon
grow them
Hellery
for them,
holly,
too.
2 gallon, 3 gallon, 5 gallon, 7 gallon. I mean, we had a lot of different sizes of a few different things.
Manhattan euonymus.
Manhattan, Euonymus, I mean, all that we had. Nobody else had Manhattans in 1s, 3s, 5s, 7s, and 15s.
And that was diversified back then.
Oh yes, that was a lot. Nowadays, it's totally changed. And you just look at what we have on the set here. of the variety of kind of plants that are available in the marketplace today, which means more than ever, you need to have a little help guiding you through that process, because obviously you don't want to plant a blue spruce under a window that's this tall, because this is going to get way up above it and block the view. And so if you want to maintain your view, it's about putting it in the right place, as it is with all plants.
Yeah, but if they come and see Alan every time, and they say, you didn't have real great luck 3 years ago with one of these that you liked right then, let's don't do it again. Let's don't do stupid on purpose.
Right, and that's one thing I try to stress to people when they bring a plant back in that didn't work for them and it's passed away. They come back in and I'll say,
the late shrub,
yeah,
it's no longer with us.
I say, you didn't have success with that one. Do you want to think about maybe doing something else, something that's a little more hardier and doesn't require quite the attention, and set yourself up to be successful? Don't come out here and pick out the plant is the hardest one to grow. Pick out the one that's the hardest, and it will grow and do well, and you'll be happy with what
certainly
you do.
if you have drainage situations, you don't want to be planting a rhododendron in a spot like that. It's an expensive plant, and it just can't tolerate the wet feet. So asking the right questions, that's what we try to do here at Bates Nursery and Garden Center. And whether you talk to Alan or any of our great staff of horticulturalists here, we're here to help you. Bring photographs on your smartphone or tablet along with you, and that really helps give us some insight into your unique landscape situation and help you to get the right plants in the right place the first time. And as Bates Reward members, because you get my newsletter, and if you don't get my newsletter, well, we'd be happy for you to subscribe. You just go to batesnursery.com and you can scroll about that far down the page, and you just put your name and your email address and in there and agree to it. And then you'll receive it every week until such time you decide you don't want it anymore. Then you can unsubscribe. Really want to take one more moment. If you go to the bottom here and go to the Bates Nursery Botanical Boot Camp.
BNBBC.
Yes, make sure you go to that page, and that will not only give you all of the upcoming events that are on there. And by the way, it was also a couple of links in this week's newsletter in case you missed it. So we've got Keeping Deer Out of Your Garden and the Little Shop of Horrors, which I'm particularly looking forward to that one. And how to read plant labels. There's also a lot of good information there. So, and all of our other previously recorded shows are all down at the bottom. So check out
the show that Honora, was there a particular show that Honora's BNBBC won the award for?
No, it was for the series.
So,
yes.
Folks, you got to watch them all.
So yeah, there's a lot of information to absorb there, and we're fortunate to have a staff full of horticulturalists that really know their stuff, and people who have specific information about certain areas, whether it's tropicals or perennials or shade trees, all those kinds of things. Check it out. Bates Nursery Botanical Boot Camp, and you can just Google that. It'll come right up. So check that out. And again, we went a little long on that one, but
That's okay.
Appreciate you giving us a moment and talk about what we do here.
Shall we tour the green room this morning, David?
Alan, I'm going to give you the honors of directing this, since you can you're facing it, seeing it. So you just tell us what you're talking about and give everybody a chance about where we're looking. So
Sure. One of the plants we have here is underneath the screen there, that the Clara japonica. That's a plant that a lot of people are not familiar
Carol
with.
Merrill.
Yeah. It's a really nice plant. It's got glossy leaves on it. The new growth is red. It grows about 6 foot or so.
That's one of the plants that has been best used as a replacement for those who are really wanting that red tip photinia type of look.
Right.
And they give you a similar look, but without the disease problem.
Yes, they do actually live here.
Yes.
Yes. So that is a really good one. And then the next one down is a variegated Weigelia that a lot of people don't have. That's a plant that you don't see everywhere. It's a very showy plant as well. It also has
not
blooms.
just when it's in bloom.
Right. It has blooms, but it has good foliage color year round. And that's important because a lot of people will kind of focus in on the bloom, and you try to explain to them, it's going to bloom for maybe 2-3 weeks.
Then you got to shrub the rest of the year.
And then the 49 other weeks of the year, you've got just foliage. So it's just as much important to pick out a nice foliage look as well as a blooming look.
Because everything that flowers, there's not anything that we sell that blooms all year long.
No. No.
Nothing.
Crepe myrtles would probably be the longest blooming thing. They are 90 to 120 days, but maybe I feel you from there. But I mean, there's just not many things that even bloom that long. And then down behind Josh there is the Japanese maple. I mean, there's really not much to say other than you can't hardly go wrong with the Japanese
Well, and
maple.
every landscape needs a focal plant, and Japanese maples are more often used for that purpose better than anything else. It's just a matter of getting the right growth habit in the right spot.
Correct.
So you may have room for quite a large growing one, or you may want to keep it very small, depending on what your situation is. So
These going to be looking like they look like upright growers. I mean,
these are
These
here.
two are,
Okay.
yeah, these two are. I don't know exactly which varieties they are, but yeah, and that's one of the things that people struggle with sometimes. I think the majority of people have in their mind that most of them are weeping type Japanese.
Yeah, and the dissectums, to be sure, which are the lace leaf types, those
yeah.
are the ones that are that. But that's just one family of Japanese maples. And again, you can go out to our website, batesnursery.com, and you can actually click on the trees and then click on Japanese maples, and then you have like 3 different groups of Japanese maples that are in there, so you can refine your search down where you can see exactly what's available.
Right, and the other thing that people want to try to do with Jap maples, a lot of time they like to put them in full sun. Their yard is nothing but sun, and
They've got a south-facing house, and it would look so beautiful out in the front
right up
yard.
against the brick wall for contrast.
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
yeah.
And it's just not a good place. I mean, there are varieties now
It won't
that are
kill
much
'em.
better. No, they'll live.
But they'll look like,
The foliage, especially the lace, real tiny lace
oh,
leaf
they'll
ones,
get cooked.
the sun will just scorch them.
Right. Now, they grow them out in fields in Oregon and all, but they just don't have the intensity and the heat
No.
so many days that we have here. And it's, like I said, it won't kill them, but it makes them look really bad.
Right, and that's on the boot camp coming up, reading labels. That's one thing is so misleading because labels are general. Monrovia and some of these other growers, they ship nursery stock all over the country.
Hard to put a label on there that really describes a growth habit that applies everywhere.
Right, and the exposure in Michigan is way different than the exposure here in Nashville.
Correct.
So, you kind of have to read the label, but you kind of have to have some knowledge of the plant as well in order to make the right selection.
All right. So, covered that. Anything else up there you see down front? We've got that you want to.
The standard barberry, that's the type plant that people either love or they hate.
It's a great security system.
Yes, it works well. You can mass them together, and I promise you, nobody will go through them.
Well, they won't, but one time.
But one time, that's right.
And when the little barbs break off in you, it's the gift that keeps on giving. Because for the next 10 days to 2 weeks, you're going to have a sore spot on your fingers, and
Right.
you and I've had many of those.
And it's usually better to wait a day or two and let it kind of swell up before you try
Let
to
it fester a little bit, where it'll come on out of
it'll
there.
come out.
Yeah, moving on.
That's
That's
just
strange.
the reality.
Just the way it is. It's the way it is. This is an unusual plant, the Collimer blue spruce.
And it's a weeping variety also.
Yeah, it's an unusual type plant, and a lot of people will look at the tag on that, and of course it'll say, 35, 40 feet, whatever. In Middle Tennessee, not likely.
Probably more like maybe 18,
15 to 18 is a big blue spruce in Nashville.
Right.
It's
Now,
a big one.
these are grown, understand, on the West Coast, and conifers in the Pacific Northwest are unbelievable. Is the overused metaphor. It's like conifers on steroids. They get really huge.
Nice volcanic soil and that
Oh, yeah.
high,
They
high
love
desert.
they love the sunshine and cool temperatures. 80-degree days and sunshine throughout the summer is just ideal for them.
Yeah,
So,
no humidity like we have here.
Exactly.
So, they're a great plant for those that are looking for that blue-green look. Mm-hmm. They're good plants to use. There again, need to be in rich, fertile soil, well drained.
And there's a lot of different cultivars of these blue
yes.
spruce. I mean, there's these unusual ones that are on upright weepings. There are ground covers. There's globe types. There's the traditional types. There's foxtails. There's
Fat Albert.
Alberts.
Yeah.
There's just a whole array, and the intensity of blue color varies from one variety to another.
Yes.
No,
Yes.
the other conifer in front, that's a striking plant as well.
Yes. That is. I'm not sure which pine that is.
Well, it looks like a black pine to me.
Yeah.
But
If it is a black pine, that's a plant that definitely struggles here in this area because of the humidity and heat. It would be a plant that I would recommend maybe putting in a location where it would not get afternoon sun, direct afternoon sun. And there again, they don't get really big like they would out.
so morning exposure really is
Yeah.
preferred for that. Even though it's a sun-loving plant, it just is not a heat-loving plant.
Right.
So,
It loves the sun, but it just can't tolerate the
So the-
several days of 90-degree weather.
So the long and short of it is whenever you're selecting plants, you really need to collect as much information as you can about the specific areas that you're looking at putting plants into, and the direction the house faces, the existing structures, other shade trees, drainage. There's one thing we really haven't talked about much, but how does water? How does your house deal with water? Does it fall away quickly and everything seems to stay dry, or does it really tend to stand and you have problems with things as because of that?
Right. In our area now, we're getting a lot of townhomes and houses built on zero lots.
Tall skinnies.
Tall skinnies. And what you run into there is compaction, because there's dumpsters, there's all the help that's working on the house, parking in the yard,
Skid steers.
and all kind of stuff. And when they finish the house off, they don't think about the compaction issue that has been there. And I mean, literally, the dirt is just packed so hard that you can't get air into the roots, and the roots can't penetrate that hard ground. So compaction is really becoming a big factor.
Well, and that's where products such as Earth Mix Landscape really come into play, because they can help to loosen that soil and to keep it from recompacting.
Right.
So it gives those plants an opportunity to be able to get into the soil around them and get them started off in a situation where they have a reasonable chance to not just live, but to really thrive.
Yeah.
Look it up. All right, folks, that's amazing. 615-499-6690 is the number to join us. Now, we're probably running out of time for this week, but you can jump back in there next week because we're coming back soon.
Well, we'll talk about one thing, Alan. We just got a few minutes here left at the end of the show, is about fall color from trees that's coming up.
Yes.
And now that we've had some cold weather, we're going to see some pretty dramatic changes in the woodland area. I mean, this should be a fall like we have perhaps never seen in our lifetime.
Right. Should be really good.
And our lifetimes are getting on pretty long now. I don't know if you've noticed, but we both known each other a long time.
Yeah.
Well, I was about to say, it seems like the first time in a long time we've had an actual autumn.
Yes.
Well, it
Instead
is
of just a week.
Not only has the temperatures been right, we've had adequate soil moisture, which is really
Crucial.
It's really a crucial part of getting the sugars and keeping those up into the leaves, so that the carotenes and xanthophylls can be there in sufficient levels, so that when the chlorophyll
Is that
comes
kind of
out-
spicy, that Zanzafil stuff?
I don't know that there's much taste associated with
Okay.
it. Maybe bitter.
Maybe a little bitter, I would say.
Isn't carotene the stuff that makes like sweet potatoes orange?
Carotenes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Carrot.
Not kerosene.
Carotene.
Carotene.
Kerosene would make it taste awfully bad.
Yeah.
It would, and flammable.
Yes.
So if your sweet potatoes burn, they probably have kerosene.
Sweet
in it.
potato a la flame.
Oh, my goodness.
So
gracious.
everybody should really get ready for the show that's coming up over the next couple of weeks. They really should begin seeing some changes coming up over the next few days. That's probably going to have a lot of people thinking, well, gosh, I need more of that in my yard.
Yes.
And we certainly can take care of them there.
We have a nice selection.
We have
And again, folks shouldn't worry. With the fall color, it's not just trees; it's all the shrubs.
Oh,
I mean,
yes.
and the
Yes.
different textures on the barks and stuff like that we've got coming up.
There's a lot of aspects to your landscape, and we're privileged to get to help you work through those. So, Alan, thanks for coming on
Thank you for
today.
having me.
The doctor himself,
Yes, sir.
Dr.
Appreciate
Lincoln.
Thank you, sir.
All righty, folks. Music means that we're running out of time for this edition of the At Home Show with Josh Cary and David Bates. We didn't get to talk about my birthday cake that I manufactured last
You know,
summer.
and we've got the going away edition coming up next week.
Maybe you can bake a Nora another cake.
No. No. But folks, we're going to come to you every Saturday morning. We've been doing so for parts of 2 centuries, 2 millennia, 4 decades. I mean, it's been a while.
Yep.
And, it's... we'll keep it rolling. It's going to get better and better. All righty, folks, for all the At Home Show team, my name is Josh Cary. We do thank you for participating. Go out to the Facebook page, like it, share it, go to the YouTube, subscribe. Get out there on LinkedIn, start watching us there as well. And, hey, if you see a Twitter, hey, retweet, we treat. But thanks again. We'll see you next Saturday morning for another At Home Show with Josh